In the last 50 years, one man changed the game of marketing more than anybody else, and that man was Steve Jobs. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the game of dating from the perspective Steve Jobs would have taken if he was still around. Now, Steve Jobs looked at marketing from one perspective only. He looked at it from the perspective of product market fit. So rather than starting with the product and thinking about how he could market that product, he would start with the market. Who was his market? Who did he want to sell or create something for? What did these people need? And what do these people want? And once he really understood that, he started thinking about a product that he could make for them and how he could make that product so good it became undeniable in and of itself. And only on the last step, he started thinking about how to market that product to his target market. We're going to do the exact same thing with dating. Okay, the first thing we have to do is we have to understand exactly what type of women we want to have in our life. And for that purpose, let's do a little exercise. Let's grab a pen, let's grab a sheet of paper, and we're going to create 3 lists, starting with a list on the character traits and values that we are looking for in women. These are the things that they must have. And I'm challenging you here, don't start with anything looks-wise. Really start with the personality. What character traits does she have to have? What value system? What are her core values? And what lifestyle does she want to live on a day-to-day basis? These are only the must-haves, the things that are non-negotiables for you. If there's anything in here that pops up where you're like, hey, if she doesn't have this, then I could never be in a relationship with her, put it on that list and be honest with yourself. I want you to really think about what you want deep down. What would be your dream outcome? Write that down and get very clear on it. Now, when it comes to values, if you don't know your own values, you're going to have a hard time understanding what values you care about in women. So if you don't know it, I'm going to put a link down in the description that will take you to a video I made on how to understand your own value system. If you don't know your values, go watch that video, do the exercise there, understand your own value system, and then come back to this. Now, once you're done with the character traits, the value system, and the lifestyle that girl lives, let's move on to what you care about looks-wise, because let's not kid ourselves, looks are actually very important as well. I wanted you to start with the character traits because the character traits are what really make or break a long-term relationship. But if you're dating somebody that you're not physically attracted to, it's also not going to work out. So get very specific on the must-haves. Again, must-haves for the looks at this point. Once you finish that list on the must-haves, we're going to move on to the second list where we're going to write down everything that's a nice to have. These are all of the things that, well, if they're not there, we can live with it. Would be nice if they'd be there, but if they're not, that's totally fine. And I'll give you an example here. For me, a great example is outdoor activities, hiking. If you're really into hiking and you want a girl that's also into hiking, and for you that is an absolute non-negotiable, then it must be in the must-have list. On the other hand, if you're really into hiking and you'd be open to date a girl that doesn't like hiking because you're happy to do that on your own, then that would be maybe a nice to have. You're like, okay, well, if she does like hiking, that's great, but if she doesn't, that's totally fine as well. Put it either in the must-have or in the nice-to-have, depending on that. Same with the looks, same with values, same with character traits, same with lifestyle choices. Once you finish these 2 lists, so must-have and the nice-to-have, I want you to make a 3rd list where you write down the absolute deal breakers. And there will be things that you're not willing to tolerate from your partner. These could be habits, behaviors, activities, hobbies. Just write this down and be honest again with yourself. For me, for example, smoking is an absolute deal breaker simply because I live a very healthy, very fit lifestyle and I don't really want to have a partner who's a smoker. Short-term dating, I'd be open to it, but having a relationship with somebody who is a heavy smoker is an absolute deal breaker for me. So again, finish this 3rd list and then we're going to move on to the second point. Once you finish that list, you'll have a better understanding of what type of women you actually want to have in your life. And what you're going to do then is think about what type of man these women want to have in their life. There's this big misconception on the internet in this whole manosphere world that all women want is looks, status, money. And we can talk about this another time, but I want you to park this thought and not think about it any further. Just think of women as humans. What do these women care about? What type of values would your dream woman most likely want in a man? What type of activities, what type of ambition, what type of life does her dream partner live? Really figure out whether you are the man that this woman is most likely looking for. And if you're not, then think about what you could do in your life to become that man. What needs to change? What needs to improve? What needs to be transformed? That's where we're going to start with you because you're the product here, right? So you understand the market and you have to be honest with yourself on whether you are the right product for that market. And if you're not, we're going to have to think about how to make you that product. And if you don't want to become that product, we have to think if that is the right market for you. Of course, with the right marketing, you can always create product market fit and kind of cheat or hack the system. The problem is that that's never going to be a long-term solution. You might meet somebody, you might be able to make something happen, to hook up with a girl, but ultimately, unless it's a real match and a lot of the things that we talked about align, there's no chance of this becoming a real long-term valuable relationship. And actually, I've seen this happen so many times where men were able to get girls that were actually not really aligned with them. And these relationships would always end in one of two ways. Either the girl would end up being frustrated because at some point she realized that the guy she thought she was dating is not really there, and the guy is instead kind of somebody else. But humans suck at putting this stuff into words, so they just feel like, hey, they're not really satisfied with where it's at. Or the guy actually gets tired of putting up this facade and starts cheating on the girl, dating somebody else on the side who accepts them for who they truly are, because they actually feel that they have to keep putting up this facade with their partner. And neither of these outcomes are what we're looking for. We want somebody that wants us for who we are. And ideally, this should go both ways. Two people who fully accept each other, who love each other the way they are, and to build a bond, a unit. That's what it's all about, right? Okay, last but not least, we have to talk about how to communicate our product to the market. So creating authentic communication, dropping all of these layers that we've been trained to put on, the masks, the techniques, the trained body language, dropping all of that and just learning to be ourselves, and being ourselves in a way that is so magnetic that it still draws other people in. Now there's two elements to this, and there's a third kind of element that is more of a hack that I'll share with you at the end. Now, the first one is radical honesty. What I want you to do is from now on, communicate with radical honesty. What that means is whenever you want to say something, whenever you want to share something, you have an idea, a story, an opinion, a belief, something that pops in your mind and you want to say it, you're going to say it right away. The problem here is that we're usually going to be on a date or in a situation where we meet somebody and then we have something pop up in our mind, and right away we have this voice, the inner tempter that is trying to keep us comfortable. It says something along the lines of, no, you can't say this, or no, she's going to hate it, or she's going to judge you, or that's inappropriate. Whenever you hear that voice, we're going to say the thing that's on our mind. And in some cases, the voice might actually be right. It might be not the right time to say this. But the goal here is to stop filtering ourselves and start being authentically who we are, what we stand for, what we believe in, really learning to express that. Whenever you actually go overboard, just take a step back. Say, hey, I'm sorry, that was a joke. That was a dumb joke. Take a step back and apologize. Don't make a big deal out of it and then move on. These things happen. The better you get at this authenticity thing, at being yourself, at expressing your true core self, the more people will be drawn in. For some reason, humans are magnetically drawn to this. This is what charisma consists of. This is what people like Donald Trump, why they draw these massive crowds, because they just say what they think, not worrying about the consequence, not worrying about the social impact on it. Now, of course, don't do or say anything illegal. I hope I don't have to actually emphasize this, but within the bounds of what's socially acceptable, just do it. Just say it and learn to live with it. Learn to authentically live with the person that you want to be. And you will start seeing the more authentic you are, the more you just express yourself, the more people will be drawn into it. Sure, some people will be repelled by it. Some people will be like, oh, this guy is maybe not for me. But in exchange for every person that will go away, walk away from you, there's literally going to be 10 people that will love you for it. It's a good trade-off, because most men, what we do is we learn to put up these masks and then everything is kind of wishy-washy. We're constantly micromanaging, overthinking, worrying about the consequences, and ultimately, we're never really ourselves. And rather than having a large group of people that loves us and a small minority that hates us, we have this big group of people who's just comfortable around us. Now let's talk about the second element here. The second element is boundaries. So we've talked about the authenticity, the radical honesty, and how we communicate. What I want you to do second is being radically honest about your boundaries. If a girl does something or says something or has a belief that you absolutely don't want to be associated with, that you don't want to have in your life, I want you to express these boundaries. Communicate it, talk to her, bring it up, and see if there's a solution where you can mutually move forward. And if there's not, then that should be it. If there's a boundary and there's no way for her and you to live together where this, in a way where this boundary is being respected, then the only way for your boundary to stay intact is ending the relationship, ending the thing that's happening between the two of you. And sometimes that might not be easy, but again, this will help you being your true authentic self, and you will notice that most women will really respect you for this. Okay, and I promise you a little hack, and that little hack is abundance. Abundance means that you have options. And options in dating usually means that you have a lot of girls available. Now, you don't really have to have a lot of girls because there is a way to simulate this, but let's talk about why this is so powerful first. The reason we often fuck up in dating is because we overthink. We're in a situation where we're filtering ourselves. We're thinking about what to say, about whether our behavior is acceptable. And we're doing this because we're worried about fucking up that one interaction that we're having. When we have abundance, however, when we have a lot of options, we just worry a lot less, or maybe we don't worry at all because we simply have 10 other options that we might go to. So by having abundance, the other problems take care of themselves. So the easiest way would be to actually have an abundant life. Get a lot of women in your life, go on a lot of dates. But most of us don't have the time for this. So there is a way for you to simulate this. It's a little tool that I use for myself. Whenever I notice myself being in my head and overthinking, worrying that I cannot do something, I always think to myself, fuck it, I'm going to fuck it up on purpose. And the reason this works so well is that whenever I have this voice that's filtering me, like the little guardian that is trying to keep you from doing what you want, or to say what you want to say, that little guardian is fucking you over, because the moment you're micromanaging, women will feel that you're trying to do something to get their approval, trying to do something so they like you. And that's always going to backfire. Instead of trying and falling into that situation where you try to make things work, I want you to try to fuck it up on purpose. And you do this again by saying the first thing that comes in your mind, the thing that you were trying not to say. You're going to say that right away, and being okay if things fail. There's actually a psychological phenomenon that explains why this works so well. For example, professional athletes often visualize failure and learn to be completely fine with failure, because this allows them to put the fear of failure out of their mind and focus on winning. Playing to win instead of playing to not lose. This is exactly what we're going to be doing here. The moment we have this worry about failing, the moment we start focusing on not fucking it up, the moment we start focusing on trying to make it work, we decide that we're going to fuck it up on purpose, say the next best thing, willing to lose the whole interaction, willing to lose everything. And that will allow us to be ourselves again, which in turn will draw people in more. That's it for today's video. If you've liked the video, hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments and I'll address them in a future video. And I'll see you in that future video.